Right now, we head out to the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline, checking with our good friend. She covers the Buckeyes for us. She's going to be up in Sparty land coming up on Saturday as the Buckeyes enter their first road game of the season. She is Stephanie Otey. Stephanie, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it. Buckeyes, Spartans, know there's been a lot of noise coming out of the Woody this week, though Will Howard seems like he's very excited to get the Big Ten season on the road. He seemed to be pretty pumped about it.
Yeah, he was talking about how he grew up in the area, excited to get into Big Ten play. But what I found really interesting is what he said after the Marshall game, where he said he just sat back on the bench and looked out at everything he has available on offense and just marveled over it. And he's just having fun with it. But then you hear Ryan Day over the week say he's not happy just yet. I mean, he said you can't get complacent. So echoing different vibes there, but Will is definitely having fun and is excited for Big Ten play.
Yeah, it looks pretty great, and obviously all the weapons. But Ryan Day leaning in on that, they asked him stuff about, and I don't know who it came from, about being satisfied. He said he was never satisfied with anything. It kind of seemed, a little strange because he's like, as soon as you're satisfied, that's when you fail to get better. I was kind of amazed that that's the way he kind of went about it.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Donovan Jackson after practice last night too, and he echoed the same thing where they don't want to get complacent. And I think especially Ryan Day talked about the run game, and I mean, we've seen it perform spectacularally with Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson, but I do think Michigan State, their key point is slowing down the run game. So maybe this is coach talk. Ryan Day saying, he's not happy with it yet. We haven't seen everything from this offense just yet. They haven't been tested, but I do wonder, was that said this week because Michigan State is that team to challenge them and basically give a warning shot at Michigan State? Hey, you haven't seen everything yet. We're not happy because we know we can be better.
I thought it was interesting, too, where Jim Knowles sounded like a disappointed parent. So you have Ryan Day saying, I'm not comfortable with anything. And then Jim Knowles, who's usually pretty, by the book, he's pretty nonchalant. Like, I don't know if his resting heart rate ever gets above like 50. And you hear him say like, we're just need to get better. We need to get better. We're not really happy with anything. No champions graded out. Nobody deserved that. And I don't know if we've ever heard Jim Knowles quite like he has been kind of resetting his team's focus for this game.
I found that interesting as well. I mean, going into week 4, Ohio State was the number one defense in points allowed per game. They just allowed 2 field goals. Well, this week after Marshall, Texas did jump them, but they're still number 2. The defense has performed very well. For Jim Knowles to say they did select some champions on defense that graded out, but no defensive player showed the silver bullet type of play that they're expecting. And he said they expect excellence, and that should be expected on every single play. So I've heard, and I've talked with the guys over the weeks, is that this season does feel different. The way they're practicing, they're really pushing these guys hard. But I did find it interesting that Jim Knowles would say that because we know the scrutiny at Ohio State and the fans, they're hard on this team. And so some of the media members were a little shocked by that, saying, maybe he is being too hard on them, but the coaches are stepping up when the fans are happy this time.
You said you talked to Donovan Jackson. His first game back, kind of what were his thoughts about settling in there and how he felt about that?
What we've heard, Ryan Day calls him the best guard in the country. And throughout the conversations last week where everyone was excited to get him back. That's no knock on Austin or anything, but he is a veteran leader and he brings that confidence. Confidence was a word that everyone on offense is saying. Like, they're building their confidence, even though Ryan Day may not allow himself to be happy or to get complacent. Confidence is building. And when you get that veteran leader back on the offensive line, they do get that confidence boost, and the communication has been key there, and he's been a great facilitator with that.
She is Stephanie Otey with us here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. I know you said Michigan State's kind of going to key on this run game. I don't know, Steph, how you really stop it. We saw it pretty much on full display this past Saturday against Marshall, where you had 280 yards on the ground, and both of your bell cow backs averaged over 12 yards a carry. Like, when that's active and it's running and you got Chip Kelly doing things with pulling guards and motion, like, I don't really know how you're available to stop that. And if you do, on the off chance that you do stop the run, like, don't forget that Ohio State probably has the best wide receiver room in the country either.
Exactly. I do think Michigan State will be able to force Will Howard into using his arm more. He is a mobile quarterback and he probably wants to get in some run, but last week we saw Michigan State play arguably the best running quarterback at Thomas Costello's at Boston College. They held him to just 15 yards on 15 attempts. So I do think that will be the biggest challenge here. But I'm with you. I don't see how they're stopping this run game. I'm excited to see if they can do it. But I do have a play in this game, and that definitely ties into it. I like the under for that reason, because Michigan State's offense has not performed well at all, but I do think their defense is strong. So if anything, I think the under would be the play in this one.
So Jeremiah Smith, not a man of few words. Steph, he was at the table as well. Did he have anything notable to say?
What I found interesting was, the records he's breaking as a freshman. He's had 4 touchdowns through 3 games, 14 receptions on 281 receiving yards, the most by any freshman at Ohio State up until this point. And so I asked him, do you feel like a regular freshman? And he laughed and he goes, yeah, some people may say I'm not, but he says he feels normal when you're a top recruit in your recruiting class. You're used to that attention. But as we hear the coaches being hard on each other, everyone does have that confidence in him. He did have that 1 drop in the first game, but the way he rebounds from it and feeds off of the confidence that his team is fueling him, so impressive for a kid who's just 18 years old.
Saw Chris Carter after that drop in that first game against Akron, said, you know what, I dropped my first pass too. So I think he's going to be just fine, J.J. Smith.
Last minute, anything other big takeaways that you had from getting a chance to talk to everybody this week?
I think that the biggest thing was I noticed a little bit of a difference between the coaches being super hard on them and Will Howard. He said the type of leader that he is he's the encourager, whereas we just had heard Ryan Day say, we're not going to get happy. We're not going to get complacent. And you hear your quarterback just be this happy-go-lucky quarterback and being happy to be there and excited to have all these weapons he has that he didn't have at Kansas State. So I think they have the great camaraderie. And even Donovan Jackson was saying that I get to play at Ohio State. And for a veteran who's been here for years, to still act like this is something to be really, really proud of. They're not losing sight of just what this team is. And this year in particular, in that natty or bust season, the coaches are putting the pressure on them. And I really think that the team is staying level-headed here.
Stephanie, always appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on with us here this morning. Have a great time over in Sparty land. Enjoy the game, and we'll check in again soon, all right?
Thanks, guys.
There she goes, Stephanie Otey with us here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline.